Okay, welcome to Into the Channel podcast, primarily about women's football. I'm your host, Dino Decespedes, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Engle. What is up, man?
I'm feeling fantastic, buddy. I'm feeling more than fantastic. The Champions League is back. The UEFA Women's Champions League specifically is back. I don't even want to waste any time. Can we just get to a beverage and start getting into this episode?
I'm ready. Oh my god! Cheers to the Champions League.
Cheers to the football, to the Champions League, to everybody who enjoys the Champions League with us. You know, I've said it once. I've said it a million times. The UEFA Women's Champions League is a celebration of life.
Absolutely.
And I'm just so happy that it's back.
I can't believe it's back, and we're all the way back. I'm fighting off some maybe some germs around here, so I'm hoping that this beer does a little extra work for your boy on this Sunday Eve. But yeah, man, match day 1 in the books, came and went. I mean, 9 big time matchups, and match day 2 right around the corner. Cannot wait to start breaking those down, previewing. We got a nice mixed bag of some pretty fun matchups. I don't know if it's as good as match day 1, but still some juicy ones. Match day 2, where do you want to get started?
Well, let me just say, it's a great question by you because we had some heavyweight matchups, big names on match day 1. But match day 2, we get so many more of the this country versus this country. I don't even know if it's more. I just like, it's just all we did is just shake the snow globe. I mean, that's the best part about the Champions League is that now we get to see the other teams play each other. So let's focus on that. You asked me where I want to get started. I mean, let's start with Roma versus Barcelona, match day 2. I think there's a lot of intrigue in this one, while kind of not being a ton of intrigue in this one, if that makes sense.
There's definitely storylines here, obviously. So I mean, Barcelona. Where do we start with them? I think the revenge tour. We joked about Vladko. This is making Vladko's revenge tour look like I don't know a second grade dance recital. Like Barcelona is not messing around. 8 matches this season. How's 44 goals for 2 against for this side, and they're just whipping everybody. I mean, they took on the champions of Germany, and just, I mean, what do we do with that result? Like, just the disparity, the score line, and then what we saw on the field, because what we saw on the field wasn't particularly close either.
Well, that's the crazy part, and you and I were texting about it a little bit. Obviously, we had this one circled. 2 pretty big clubs between Barcelona and Bayern Munich, if you pay attention to international football. Mm-hmm. And I thought you said it really well over text. I don't even think Bayern Munich played that poorly. Yeah. And Barcelona was a mile ahead of them. They looked terrifying out there.
I mean, only 2.0 XG for Barcelona, but 281 touches in Bayern's half, 53 touches in the box for Barcelona. Imagine playing Barcelona and they get 53 touches in the box. They connect on 90% of their passes. So Barcelona today, big chances 4, big chances missed 0. That pretty much sums it up. There you go. And I also loved, like, you get a brace from Claudia Pina, you get a brace for Eva Paior. They've got 12 goals combined in Liga F. There's just 3 Liga F teams better than just those 2 players if you're not counting Barcelona. So they would rank 4th in terms of like top scorers. But in this one, 2 players with a brace, and then you have Alexia with a goal and 2 assists, and then you have Esme Brooks with a goal and 2 assists. Like the numbers were just astronomical.
I mean, the counting stats, through the roof. I'm glad you talk about Eva Paior and that brace. That goal she scores, the second goal of the match, I think it was in the 12th minute, where the rebound kind of bounces up, and she's able to just kind of do that spinning aerial side kick to just blast it perfectly. She has to time it perfectly. She doesn't want to wait for the ball to come all the way down to her foot. She wants to hit it kind of like waist level. We call, and we'll talk about Alba Redondo for Real Madrid later. We love to call Alba Redondo a professional goal scorer. There are tiers of professional goal scorers. Mm-hmm. And I think I would argue that Eva Paior is the top tier of that kind of professional goal scorer, where it's, I'm in the danger area, and I just figure out a way to score. I think she might be best in the world at it.
Yeah, I mean, I got to give Esther a little nod just because, I mean,
way up there,
I'm just as scared if Esther's got the ball, and Esther's doing with a little bit less service there. But Payor, obviously unbelievable. Claudia Pina, unbelievable. I cackled at that moment when Vicky Lopez takes the ball up the pitch, just dazzling, dancing. And they're going 2-on-4. She gets the ball to Pina, Pina smashes it in. And I wrote down the 4 that they were going against: Magdalena Eriksson, Glodis Vigastottir, Francesca Kett, and the goalkeeper, Anna Mamudovic. And it's like they made those 4 just look like the JV, like no shot.
Yep.
Whatever we want, we're going to take it. And then the goal was just an embarrassment of riches. You usually see the dazzling play and then, it doesn't get capped off. This one capped off with some icing on it.
Yeah, I mean, Barcelona found a way, and you watch them play in Liga F too. Like you said, they're mashing everybody. And especially this last weekend against Atleti, we'll talk about them later as well. Yep. Just their execution in the final third is bonkers at times. Like it's just like the ball is going in the net, and they are just getting themselves in these positions where they are sprinting at the backline defenders. And the defenders just have no chance. So, I mean, all of this spells bad news for AS Roma. I have to be honest with you. And so, it's like, what kind of measuring stick can it be if you're up against the absolute, arguably the best club in the world? Roma will learn some things about themselves, but also have to kind of look in the mirror and say, okay, well, we weren't going to really compete that well against this team.
They weren't. But I mean, if you're Roma, obviously Roma gets worked by Real Madrid, 6-2 loss there. Right. In a game where they were pretty competitive, it went back and forth. That first half was fireworks and a ton of fun. But, you look at this team that's lost defensively, Elena Linari to London City Lionesses, Moika Minami to Brighton. They've also lost Saki Kumagai, Valentina Giacinti to Galatasaray. So some of those like staple Roma players that kind of had logged a ton of Champions League minutes for this side out the door. And defensively, you just kind of saw that it was just a little bit tricky. So they gave up 88% pass completion to Real Madrid, 25 shots, 14 on target, 20 shots from inside the box. You give up, and that's to Real Madrid. Mm-hmm. I mean, what are we looking at? 40 shots from inside the box for if it's Barca? I mean, I think Roma's got to figure out how to change things up and really just try to kind of stop the bleeding, because this is a club that could find their way, into that top 12. I don't think they're hanging it up in any way, shape, or form. These are 2 rough matches to start, and they still have to go. I think they have to go at Chelsea. But I mean, this team, not out of it by any stretch, but they can't really kind of like get another bad goal differential number hung on them this week and hope to kind of stay alive. Just going to be a little bit behind the 8 ball at that point.
Well, I don't know if they're going to have a say in that matter. I think this might be another bad goal differential match, and that's why I think the losing 6-2 to Real Madrid was so soul crushing for them. I do want to ask the question: can you have a good match as a goalkeeper and still give up 6 goals?
I think depends.
Yeah, I think usually probably no. Not, though, right?
Yeah, usually no.
Usually no, but that's what's crazy is that I didn't hate Baldi's effort in goal for Roma, and that's why I think that it just makes it doubly heartbreaking to lose by 4, because you just don't stand much of a chance against Barcelona. I mean, I think they made it about as difficult as they could make it on themselves for the rest of this league phase. And so they're just going to have to claw them back. And, can Roma keep it within 4 in this match? I think is the magic number.
Yeah. So looking at Roma after this, they're going to host Vålerenga. They go to Leuven, Belgium. And then they've also got a date with St. Pölten, Matchday 6. So, it's not all doom and gloom, but they really got to turn it around here, try to make something happen. I thought Elia Pilgrim, who we got to know this summer, playing for Switzerland, really good showing. I think she got an assist And then there was a really fun Eva Navarro versus Emily Boss Hard Javi battle that resulted in a couple goals each way and some real iciness, which we love. And, just no group of life, obviously, no group stage, but good to see a lot of life pumping through the league phase. But with that said, I think we both expect big scoreline, big number from Barcelona, less big number from Roma. But let's move ahead to another possibly lopsided matchup. Lyon against aforementioned Zeng Pölten. What are you going to be looking for in this one?
I think Lyon at every phase of the game and every part of the pitch is a dominant team. Obviously, I'm not breaking any news there. But, Arsenal, I'm going to try not to look at this too much through an Arsenal lens because we'll talk about them later, obviously. But like Lyon didn't even, for the 2 goals, they didn't even have to really super force Arsenal into those. Like the first, the first giveaway that Dumornay just kind of hops on and scores, it was an unforced error. But that's the thing with Lyon is that you just have a tiny margin for error. And then you have Engle back there who's able to make massive saves at important times. She had a great save versus a Caldente shot. I want to say near the end of the first half, maybe, or maybe it was near the beginning of the second half.
Yeah, I think it was early second because they were going back that same way where Melchi scored.
Go. And so, Lyon has everything that you need. They want to be on a bit of a revenge tour themselves. And while, Barcelona drubbing Bayern Munich sends a message, I think Lyon stepping onto the pitch and beating the holders sends its own kind of message.
I definitely agree with that. It was really fun seeing, this Yona Haralda's team, kind of like how they were trying to attack. Really interesting to see Ingrid Engen, obviously in the starting lineup. She's definitely going to be pushing for starting, but starting at center back. And I think that's where Giralda's kind of like found a great place for at Barcelona. So you've got Engen alongside Rennie Renard, and then on the outside you got Selma Bosch on one side and Tarsiani on the other. And, they're flying up and down. And, Tarsiani wants to get near the goal, right? And she wants to use her height and her length. And what better player to kind of like get the ball there on the other from the other side than Selma Basha, who had a really, really good game. She won 12 of 14 duels in this one. She drew 2 fouls, 11 defensive recoveries. Melchi Dumornay also 11 defensive recoveries. Dumornay, nice. A real, the tip of this. I really love that Giralda said, all right, Melchi Dumornay, you are a number 10. I mean, this should have been like locked in well, like going back a good ways. Lindsay Heaps sit a little deeper, get a little bit more defensive. Heaps was awesome, I think, in this game. I think really, really made herself felt against Arsenal. But Dumornay was incredible. Couple barely looks, the finishes off the charts. Like nothing really you can do with that. And that's a player that can do everything from that spot on the field. Can like really drive, can shoot, can distribute, and was the absolute difference in this one on the road in a tough spot, revenge match, to kind of set the tone, like you said, against the holders.
I mean, it was a bloodbath when they got knocked out of last year's tournament by Arsenal. It was just a disastrous performance at home for Lyon last year when they ended up, just getting smashed in that second leg of the semifinal. I thought Heaps bounced back nicely. She got cooked a little bit by Beth Mead on Russo's opener, but I think you're right. I think overall Heaps had a good game to kind of bounce back from that. But just having the combination of Dumornay kind of setting things up, like you said, and then Diani, Katoto, Shawinga all running at your defense. It's a tall order for anybody to stop, and it will be throughout this tournament. So, I mean, there's not a lot to dislike about Lyon and their chances in this tournament, but what else is new?
I think they will need, to kind of go deeper, I think they will need a little bit more production. I thought Diani was super active, like more active, using, like, I think her legs a little bit more than we're used to, just kind of like trying to stretch that Arsenal defense. But I definitely want to see, more from Katoto in terms of finishing, Diani as well, and kind of Chawinga. They brought Eula Braun in this one, and like I think Braun is still working her kind of way into that that attack. They're obviously loaded, the talent's there, but this was a Melchi Dumornay game, and they there were some chances the other way. Good competition, good defense on the other side, and you probably want to see just a little bit more from that Lyon attack. But again, competition was tough, and this is just match day one. Zeng Pölten on the other side. Anything we need to know? I got a couple. Let me hit you with a couple key stats here. Obviously, very poor showing versus Atleti. They were out box touched 52-6, outshot 31-4. Shots from inside the box, a 21-1 disparity there. I'll say a very poor showing from a team that I think we were expecting a little bit more from, considering their recent experience in this tournament.
To quote our old pal and UEFA Women's Champions League winner Leanne Sanderson, got to do better there, to be fair. I think, we absolutely expected more from STP in this one. It was a disastrous showing. They looked slow compared to Atleti in their matchup. I mean, and we know, like we've talked about it, Atleti will run at you on the wings and create opportunities for themselves. And St. Pölten just didn't have an answer for it. And I will say my one thing that kind of struck a memory in the old banks here, when I saw Lyon playing SDP, I was like, I have seen this before. And in the Into the Channel's maiden voyage into the UEFA Women's Champions League in the 23-24 season, we don't exactly have a deep catalog of experience, but that was our first tournament covering. That was our first time covering this tournament. SDP, they only lost 2-0 at Lyon in the first on match day 2 of that group stage. Unfortunately for them, they had to play Lyon a second time. Even though it was in Austria, they lost that match 7-0. And I remember talking about it well. They just got their doors blown off. Even more, 7-0 maybe was not an accurate review of how comprehensive that victory was. So I don't like STP's chances. You lose 6-0 to Atletico. You might be on pace for another 7-0 loss to Lyon, and it will be getting late real early for our Austrian pals if that happens.
Yeah, I think so. I think we might get a busy Karina Schluter game in this one, so we'll keep an eye out for that. But St. Pölten, I think we could see some kind of a little bit better, more energy. I guess we'll say that's probably would be my hope. This going to Lyon is going to be a tough task for sure. But we'll see. Maybe it was a conditioning thing, and maybe we'll see some sort of bounce back. But I want to shift gears here to a couple teams that looked a little bit flat match day one. Chelsea Football Club, Paris FC, I think both underwhelmed match day one for different reasons. Each team leaves match day one with a single point, but I think a disappointing point. What do you think from either? Where do you want to start with these two sides?
No doubt a disappointing point for Chelsea. I mean, there's just no two ways around it. Like, they are in this tournament to win it. I believe the announcer very smartly had said, like, maybe the 10th time is the charm for Chelsea. Coming into this, they have probably not though. I mean, he stopped short of saying that, but I think both you and I are on the same page here. Against Twente, they had some like pretty good opportunities, but it just felt like it was a lot of, we have the ball, we'll get some shots on target. I just never felt like that many of them were ever going in. Like, there were a couple that I was like, okay, that could have worked. They just couldn't land the haymaker. I know you love some boxing parlance. So I'm in a weird space with Chelsea where I expect them to finish top 4. I'll say that. I do not expect them to win the tournament, but I do think there's a world where they could win the tournament. Can I have all three of those thoughts at the same time?
I think so. I think the one that I find probably like the most egregious is they have a chance to win the tournament, because I think to me this team does not really have a chance to win the tournament.
No chance.
If we're simulating it tomorrow, like if this is what Chelsea is going to look like, let me rephrase. If this is what Chelsea is going to look like down the stretch, and this is who's playing, they can't win. No way.
Sure.
Like, you know,
That's
you
fair.
look at, they start the season 4 wins, the WSL season. Their last 3 matches, combined WSL and Champions League, 2 draws and a 1-0 win over Tottenham today. I looked at some of the numbers for those 3 matchups. The shot disparity, you know, very Chelsea-like. 27-10 over Tottenham, 20-9 over Twente, 19-15 against United. But the shots on target, 4, 6, and 6 from, so that's what, 12, 16 out of 47, 16 out of 66. You know, that's not very good. Probably not going to get it done in each of these matchups. I don't think they scored more than a single goal, in the XG 2.46, 2.9, 2.86. So they're way underperforming. You know, you look at those, you know, those you know, that front attacking unit, and they're just not cashing in as much as they need to be, considering the positions they're getting into, the talent. You know, they have the talent disparity, playing at home. You know, like this team's going to need a lot more. And I think the other key issue is defensively. You know, I think, you know, we saw Berman in this one. I think prior to that, we saw Millie Bright and Natalie Bjorn pairing. This team needs a Naomi Girma. Like I've talked about it, that central channel where Millie Bright's there, Kira Walsh is in front of her, I think is very kind of problematic defensively. Like a lot of teams in this tournament are going to be able to take advantage of that, and not just the Barcelonas and Lyonnes. I think there's mid-table teams that I think could hurt them if that's who's starting. So I think it starts there for Chelsea. I think they've got to kind of like lock down a little bit more defensively. They got to cash in, you know, with these chances, which they are earning to their credit.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I mean, you know, they pay the goal scorers to get it done. It's just those numbers you talk about in terms of shots on target, absolutely abysmal. You have to be way more efficient than that. So, and again, like you said, like if they play like this, obviously they're drawing dead, but I don't think they will. I think they'll continue to mesh. The players are too good.
Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
So what could they do? Like what's out there that you think could work? Is there a pairing? Is there a move or a unit that's probably like, what do you think could be the recipe for, you know, some kind of leap?
You know, I'm a Micah Hamano believer. I think, you know, a step up from her, you know, with kind of Thompson, Wrighton, ABJ. Where are we on where are we on Myra Ramirez's injury status? Do we know if she's coming back? I could
do a little digging. I know we got some Sam Kerr minutes.
I was gonna say we got here. Right. And so we got some Sam Kerr minutes. Obviously she's gonna come back. That's why I'm just like so hesitant to and there's probably some emotional hedging here too, is that I don't want to just come on this podcast and be like, Chelsea's done, get him out of here, because I don't want to have to hear about it from Chelsea supporters, with me being a big old Manchester City supporter and a big Chelsea hater. I can imagine you're in a similar boat as an Arsenal supporter. But like, yeah, I think their absolute ceiling, to be honest with you, is they could make the final. I don't doubt that. Like with the players they have, it's just it has to progress over the long season, if you will.
Yeah, I think, you know, that's one thing that I've learned kind of like covering this sport, you know, for the years that we've been doing it, is that the teams look so different at the end. Like, you know, Arsenal last year getting annihilated, you know, the Jonas Eidevall led Arsenal opening the Champions League season at Bayern and just getting their ass kicked, you know, going from that to then beating Barcelona in the final 6-7 months later. I mean, it's impossible to predict. So, you know, I think my caveat, this team, you know, is it's a little bit of a cheat to say this team looking as it does cannot do it, because no team that's going to win is going to look like they do now, you know, at the final. They're going to look, there's going to be a lot of evolution, a lot of growth. Even Barcelona, you know, if they win, it's going to be a different look. It'll be a more, which is scary. It'll be a more evolved Barcelona if they're the ones that actually kind of lift the trophy at the end. But I want to talk a little Perry FC. Another disappointing showing. I mean, I think we got the Clara Mateo show in the first half. You know, it got busy, but was maybe their only offensive option. I think, you know, once Leuven figured that out, you know, got a little trickier, and, you know, they were able to kind of like erase that 2-goal, deficit, and take home a huge point. But I want to talk Perry FC here, and maybe, a little bit of a disappointing start for sure. You're looking at like that opponent and kind of being like, oh, wait, we're playing that team at home. That's the way to kick this off. And didn't kind of go that way.
Buddy, if you are a Perry FC supporter, then I think that should have set off some alarm bells, because we've talked about some of the talent that they have lost. We've talked about some of the talent that Paris Saint-Germain has lost. We'll talk about them later. They're not good enough to only have one thing that works, to your earlier Clara Mateo point, and they're not good enough to let their foot off the gas against OH Leuven from Belgium. So,
nope.
When the rubber meets the road against some of the larger Champions League opponents that they're going to have to play, I don't know how they might be able to keep pace in some of those matches. There is one thing I just want to say real quick. Mael Garbino almost had, though, the front runner for goal of the tournament. I think it was like right around the 80th minute. The cross comes in and she just hits that like little flick back heel with her right foot, and it almost chips in. Dude, I'm relatively neutral in a lot of these matches. I wish that went in. No hate to any of our Belgian pals. I'm not rooting against Leuven, but if that goes in, it's an unreal goal.
I mean, that's kind of why we're watching, though, to kind of like catch these moments, and they're coming because they're so close. It's like the tournament itself is calibrating, which is always super fun. But we'll talk about Leuven when we get there. But that's a super fun team. But to your point, Paris FC, lackluster, opener to the tournament. It doesn't mean that they're going to go to Chelsea. And I'm not sure the transitive property, essentially applies here. I could see Paris FC putting up a good performance, especially against Chelsea, who's looked a little bit flat. But this is one where I can see it going every way except for a big Paris FC win. I can see Chelsea winning big. I can see Chelsea winning close. I can see a draw. I can see Paris FC scratching out, like kind of a miracle kind of 3 points. But I don't know. I kind of want to see how these teams bounce back, because I think they're both looking at this match sort of the same. It's like, all right, let's shake it off match day one, and let's make sure that we're here for a little bit of the long haul, especially Chelsea.
I know we joke sometimes about, that you can swing wildly. I think that's mostly about the teams that you really root for. I think I'm going to swing a little wildly on this one. I think Paris FC didn't give me a lot of confidence. I think this is a 4-0 Chelsea win. I think they absolutely dominate.
I could see it. Probably get a good number on that. Let's go ahead though. Vålerenga, Wolfsburg, another team that I'm not sure what we do. I mean, they get the huge win over PSG, match day 1, and then they get beat at home this weekend in a massive matchup versus Bayern Munich, 3-1. That one scoreline a little bit deceiving. Bayern scores, I think, 90 plus 5. Alaris Hitler, makes it 3-1. Was close most of the match, but you still lose to your big rival in a year that's kind of supposed to be your year, and you're also coming off a massive 4-0 win over PSG, which was also somewhat of a deceptive scoreline. PSG was kind of hung in a lot of those key stats, shots on target, possession. A lot of it was still very much in the same ballpark. PSG had the advantage actually in a couple of those as well, but a weird game, a weird scoreline. What'd you see from that PSG Wolfsburg matchup?
I will start with, I think you're right that it was a little closer than the scoreline would indicate. I also didn't get a lot. I got more confidence from Wolfsburg than I did from PSG kind of keeping it close. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And maybe it's just because, these recent results, I'm really down on every French club not named Lyon right now. Like, I think it might get kind of ugly for those two teams. And so for Wolfsburg to, they forced the own goal. It's pretty unlucky for Jackie Groenen, a player that I think both of us like. But Wolfsburg kind of forces them into it. I will say, Alex Pop still has a nose for the goal. Retired
Mm-hmm.
internationally, not retired for her club side. Still playing
No.
pretty well. Still knows how to score. Plays the full 90. At least I don't think she came off the pitch. Plays the full 90. Nods in the header near the end for the dagger, or pretty much at the death. I will also say, sorry, I'm getting a little jumbled here. Stina Johannes in goal did
Let's
make some
go.
important saves, I thought, and
Mm-hmm.
I will go out on a limb here. Absolutely, my second favorite Johannes in this tournament.
Love that. Yeah, cosign. Stina Johannes, another 2023 Champions League throwback, the old Eintracht Frankfurt goalkeeper. So,
Mm-hmm.
Stina and the ITC go way back. Yep, 6 up, 6 down, 6 shots on target, 6 big saves for Johannes. I really liked what Wolfsburg did, kind of like on the attack. And then also, defensively, there were some lanes there. I think PSG got some shots off. Kanjinda that definitely had some chances, some
Yep.
definite gimmies. I mean, ends up being 4-0, so I don't think it would have mattered either way. But I was really encouraged. I mean, Lynette Bierenstein, you already know what time it is. That's like just money in the bank. She's going to put pressure on defenses. Alex Pop, I thought her energy, and her, kind of like intensity, her drive to kind of like get to those balls and earn chances that other players just don't earn, even if she's not able to finish them off. I think it really kind of sets the tone for the rest of that team. And just one of my favorite players. Like, what an amazing player to kind of play alongside. You would just imagine you'd be fearless if you look up and you see Pop up there, just kind of making trouble. And then the last kind of player I want to mention, Ella Pettimors, the 23-year-old Dutch midfielder for Wolfsburg.
Yes.
Is a play. This is her second season at Wolfsburg. She spent 7 seasons at Twente prior to that, broke through there at the age of 16. She had a goal and assist last year for Wolfsburg, already 2 goals this season. Big jump in shot on target percentage, going from 20% to 56%, and shots on target per 90 going from 0.3 to 1.14. So Pettimore is very much involved in the attack there. I really like that switch. And I think Wolfsburg, speaking of teams that are going to grow in, to who they're going to be, I think Wolfsburg definitely fits that bill. This team's going to continue to evolve, continue to improve, and I think it's going to get a little bit scarier as we head down the stretch.
Love it. I mean, obviously, a club with great pedigree, 2-time champions of the tournament, I believe. And maybe this is just one of those situations. I know it's happened to you and I several times. I talked about the Wolfsburg Revenge Tour a lot last tournament. Could I have been right, but just a year early? So we'll have to see about that. But yeah, I'm with you. They're deep. They have a lot of talent. Bierenstein and Pop are just an absolute nightmare up there. They can play tough in spots. It's just, I think, especially thinking about match day 2 of this tournament. And I know, like, me and you are just absolutely drunk off excitement for this tournament. It's such a great, everything about it is so great.
Mm-hmm.
But I have really been thinking about the tiers of who these teams are and who these clubs maybe should in some cases think they are, maybe who some of these clubs want to be, or where they think they are currently but not quite be. There's just going to be a lot of jockeying for position, and I think the league phase going into the knockout phase is going to really kind of show us what the tiers really are in the European side of this wonderful sport.
I'm really glad you brought this up, because in my notes, big disparity between Liga F and WSL. If you're just looking at the vacuum that is match day 1, you obviously get Barcelona 7-1 over the champions of Germany, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid 6-2 over Roma, not the champions of Italy, and then Atleti 6-0 over St. Pölten. And then what do you do when Bayern loses 7-1 and then beats Wolfsburg 3-1, who beat PSG 4-0? So it's like, so does Barcelona beat PSG 30-? What are we talking
Right.
about? So it's like, we're going to continue to learn a lot, but might be fair to say. And then obviously Barcelona beats Atleti 6-0, to just jumble things even further. 6 different goal scorers in that one, not including the Ballon d'Or winner, So go figure. But we're going to just learn a lot about, I think we might learn that Liga F is not really, sort of like the jokey joke league that we kind of like have been making it out to be. And, it does follow that a team like Barcelona is so good and sets the pace in such a intense way that chasing them could really kind of like lift the water level for some of these other teams, because the WSL teams kind of showed up in this tournament. Chelsea 1-1, Arsenal loses 2-1, and United kind of like claws out a 1-0 victory over the other side, the squad that we're going to talk about now, Vålerenga. What was your take real quick? Like, is that a quick snap overreaction that maybe Liga F might be a little bit more serious, or is it too early to tell?
I got it. I mean, it's why you're the best in the game, buddy. Because I think this might be, we're talking about the revenge tours possibly for Wolfsburg. What if this is Liga F saying, Let's go. What, you ain't played nobody. Like maybe the Liga F teams are like, hey, put some respect on our names. Like, it's not our fault that we have to play against Barcelona twice a year and then get smashed by them in Copa de la Reina and all, whatever other domestic tournaments we have to play in. Hey, you play Barcelona. Let us know how that goes for you in a lot of different situations. So I mean, I am extremely psyched because it's the best part about this tournament is that now we get to just do all the jockeying. And, I've done it several times when we compare it to college football. It's all just a means to an end for one group of people to say, hey, actually, this is why you suck. You're not as good as us. Your league is crap compared to our league. And we're just going to draw huge sweeping conclusions from week to week. And that's what is so much fun.
Yeah, man. No arguments there. Very exciting stuff. I mean, I don't know. I kind of want to fast forward, but I'm just enjoying so much of this. And I love that like the league phase is so truncated. We mentioned it's only 10 weeks where we're going to get these 54 league phase matchups. A ton of football. I cannot wait. So exciting. Vålerenga, a team that I feel like we kind of like, right? Like, sure. I had high hopes for them. I wasn't sure if this was a good performance from Manchester. It didn't look like a good performance from Manchester United. It looked more like an underwhelming, kind of poor, kind of, risk averse, performance from a side that I think we had higher hopes for.
I think that's fair. I think they knew they had to be a little bit on guard versus Vålerenga. I think that's probably fair to say. Okay. Sorry, I thought you were talking about United's performance against Vålerenga was underwhelming. Sorry, I think I misunderstood you there.
My bad. We're talking Vålerenga Wolfsburg. So Vålerenga, what did you think of Vålerenga?
Okay, so I thought Manchester United felt like they had to guard against potential danger from Vålerenga. That's what I was trying to spit out there. Yeah. And that's why I think, Oleg Tveten could have scored in the first half. Now, the only unfortunate part of that was their only shot on target in the entire match. So Tveten needed to be extremely efficient and score that one to really have a chance. And United, they kind of got pushed out of any other real chances by United for the rest of that match. So when you go from that, and yes, Vålerenga will be playing in Norway at home versus Wolfsburg, that kind of, we're going to take only a little bit of the ball and we're going to try to play defense and then try to maximize our chances. That's not going to work against United, and it's not going to work against Wolfsburg. So they're just going to have to figure out some kind of way to look a little more dangerous on the counter, I have to think.
I think it's got to be on the counter. You look at, like against United, six box touches in the whole match. Elizabeth Turlin had 10. And you mentioned Oleg Tveten, Karina Shevik too. Like I think is the other player that you're looking for. These are players that are at the very top of top Syria and both the goal category and assist category, absolutely cooking. And you just need, not a constant attack, but they need to be some kind of threat. And neither player was a threat. Savic couldn't notch a shot in this one. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a tough task, but playing at home, I think, has to matter. And to Vålerenga's credit, you go to Manchester United, if I don't want to say would they have taken a 1-0 loss, like on the front end, but a 1-0 loss -1 goal differential, not the worst outcome,
No.
right?
Nope, not at all. Not at all when other teams are getting absolutely mashed, especially if you think about some of the teams that they might be competing with for that one of those top 8 spots. You love to see them get blown out by 4, 5, 6 goals in some of those cases. So yeah, I don't think you're off base at all. And I would be remiss if I did not mention, just real quick before we get out of this Vålerenga Wolfsburg preview, Vålerenga coming off a loss to, let's just call it what it is. Let's just call a spade. A vastly superior club and a vastly superior fan base. No disrespect to anybody Vålerenga supporters, but SK Brann did defeat them 4-2 on the very day that we're recording this podcast. And so, I obviously got to mention that about Top Syrian. I don't know what happened.
That kind of clinches Top Syrian, right? Is that now over and Vålerenga could just focus on? Am I crazy for that?
I mean, what? They're 7 points back.
Yeah, this is a wrap.
There's a little ways to go, I think, but speaking of SK Brann, I don't know what happened in the Europa Cup. Don't tell me. I'm not familiar with what might have happened in their match versus Hammarby. It's not important. This is a UEFA Women's Champions League episode.
Fair enough. All right, moving on. One more Wednesday matchup to hit. And then I think we might have to break this up into 2 parts because we are, no shocker, doing poorly on time, but that's all right.
What?
We appreciate everybody rocking with us. Leuven, OH Leuven, they're going to host FC Twente Wednesday, 12 p.m. Pacific time. I want to talk a little Twente because this is a team that's stout, poised, and got a really, really nice result against Chelsea, a team that roughed them up a couple times last year in the group stage. And just, I mean, they didn't blow the doors off the game, but exactly what you would want probably if you're Twente to kind of open up this tournament. What'd you see in that one versus Chelsea?
I like them. They're tough, man. I mean, we got our first look at them. I mean, again, like I'd say we got our first look at them. We've done this this is now our 3rd Champions League season, but so they didn't make it in the 23-24 tournament. Now they were in the 24-25 UEFA Women's Champions League, and now we get to see them again. They look better. Like obviously, we talked about Jill Roord coming over there to play Champions League football, back with the club. I think she started at Twente, if I remember correctly. The Dutch legend, Jill Roord, who we know is going to get some shots on target. We know she's going to create some chances as well. Well, she might not get she'll get some shots. Not all of them will be on target. Sometimes not many of them will be on target, but she'll hit them 100 miles per hour.
Shots near target. Let's go.
Exactly. And I liked Twente's attitude in that match versus Chelsea. And I'm curious your opinion on this. I wasn't totally surprised when Van Ginkel scored.
I wasn't. No, I definitely wasn't either. Because again, like they hung in the match. Yep. Physically, I just love how they play. Like, they weren't usually when you see, I don't want to, and Twente is a smaller club than Chelsea. I have no issue saying that. But when you see teams like go up, like you'll sometimes see like a team like Twente on the back foot a little bit more conservative, and maybe not for the whole game, but in spots. And Twente was like, no, we're going to play you straight up every chance we get. We're going to go at you when we have chances. We're going to, and they're just a team of professionals. Like this isn't a team of like 20 and 21, and like, oh, young upstart. Like these are players that are really good at a really good point in their career, used to winning stuff in that league. Exactly. Jill Roord, who you mentioned, an absolute assist machine, 90 minutes. She draws 3 fouls. I think she gets an assist in this one. 8 passes into the final third for Roord, and just like a really good player to kind of like settle things down. I just like this Twente side led by Karina Decker, and just, I think on a really good track. So don't be surprised if you see this FC Twente side in the Elite 8.
Oh my God, I couldn't love that pick anymore, my good man. I mean, now think about it. Like, we're talking about goal differential for some of these teams right now. You think about who Twente, we were talking about the tiers of who, is who in this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Twente they have to start against Chelsea. You get that notification from UEFA. Okay, great. Our first match is against Chelsea Football Club. You come out of that with a draw, and then your second match is against the debutants from Belgium. Now, again, I'll say it, like, no disrespect to Leuven. I think you and I both liked the way they played, but that is absolutely a dream for Twente. If you would have told them, hey, you're going to get a point off Chelsea and then play Leuven, you say, okay, let's start booking the flights for the knockout phase, because we're going to find a way to get there.
Match day 3, they go to Benfica. Match day 4, they host Atleti. That's winnable. They go to Arsenal. That's going to be tough. And then they host Real Madrid. So, I mean, it's a chance. There's tough matchups. But, if let's say they do string together 3 wins at Leuven, at Benfica as a stretch, at Atleti, not impossible. They're sitting on 10 points. Like, they're absolutely cooking. They can kind of rest some players against a little pie in the sky. But I wouldn't put it past this team to put together a string like that. I think they're on that level.
I think they absolutely could be. And even if you get a draw versus Benfica, think about what other teams are going to be doing in that case. So I think they're super live. I like the way they look. Like you said, they're going to play a physical style. They're going to do some total football stuff, Dutch style. And I'll pass the ball back to you. I think this matchup versus Leuven, I think it's going to be really interesting.
Slightly sneaky candidate for match of the day for me. Like, I think
I love it.
This one, if you're one to enjoy these like 1-0, 1-1, 2-2, 3-2, if you're into those, which I am, this could be that kind of match. I think it could kind of be back and forth. Leuven, offensively, they're capable of some stuff. I thought Sarah Bushtai, really interesting player. They this is another side that's used to winning. I know they usually kind of like come second to Anderlecht in their home league, but a side that they had to grow a little bit, had to kind of evolve a bunch, to kind of get to this point. And now they're kind of like, we don't want to go home. Like, I think we feel good, we feel sharp, we feel like we are on the level. And that performance at Paris FC, going into halftime down 2-0, you don't usually see a debutante type club come back and do that, like in their first, 90 minutes in the tournament of all time.
Sure.
Like, a really, really incredible kind of monumental accomplishment. And it does feel like we're going to see this team is not going to finish with 1 point. I'll say that. Leuven will not finish the league phase with 1 point. I feel pretty confident saying that. I think they're going to get somebody else. I wouldn't be shocked if they grab a win versus somebody. Just a fun team and a team that's not really afraid of anybody they're lining up against.
Totally. I'm totally with you. I think the thing that jumped out to me, I want to make sure I get this right, is that they were fine with having way less possession against Paris FC in the second half compared to the first half. So they had 49% of the ball in the first half, and they only had 34% of the ball in the second half. But they had more shots. They had more shots on target, and they had bigger chances in the second half. And they just kind of had like this little bit of a chameleon sense to them where they're like, okay, maybe this is the best way for us to attack Paris FC. I think they seized on Paris FC, maybe getting a little lax and kind of like, being like, oh, okay, we're clearly the better team here. And I think it's twofold here. And I don't think it's, disrespectful to hold both these thoughts. Is I don't think Paris FC is as good as they think they are. And I think Leuven is almost as good as they think they are. like, because they very clearly in the second half were like, we can win this thing, let alone get it back level.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they're going to be a super, super fun team to watch in this matchup where they're hosting, right? Yeah, they're hosting Twente. So this will be their home opener.
I think it could be a banger. I think you're right. I think it's
man.
Match of the day potential, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, let's go. Cannot wait. All right, like we said, we're going to break this one up into 2 parts. There's still 4 more Thursday matchups. Thursday, right? Yeah, Thursday matchups that we're going to preview. But hopefully you had fun rocking with us. We took a look at the Wednesday 5, absolutely loaded slate. And cannot wait, man. Anything else you want to hit before we get out of here? Before we get out of this part 1 here?
I think we've done it. I mean, it's like we just couldn't possibly, in any conceivable way, be more back. The Champions League is so great, man. How do you not love this? And I will say, early returns, I'm okay with how CBS and Paramount Plus has handled the broadcasts. I mean, no Chris Sharples, you're on my shit list. Not Chris Sharples, CBS and Paramount Plus, you're on my shit list. Give Chris a call. He needs to be calling some of these matches. Obviously his schedule permitting, but I thought the streaming was good. I was watching them after the fact, but the matches were available. I could watch them, which in America, it says a lot, compared to some other stuff that we're trying to watch. So good job, CBS and Paramount. I got some issues with a lot of other things going on over there, but it seems like you did okay this first go round.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Cam Pope's out there, Jackie Elliott's out there. Our guy James Thurgood, he's probably out there.
We need to get James Thurgood, Thurgood, the Destroyer. We need to get him on more matches, no doubt.
Let's go. Shout out to James. All right, man. I think we did it. This has been another episode, part 1 of the Into the Channel Match Day 2 preview. Thank you for rocking with us. Thank you for hanging out. If you enjoy the show or love women's football as much as your boys do, make sure you're kicking with us each and every single week. Like, subscribe, follow, leave us a review. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch or listen. Want to support the show? Patreon.com/into the channel. Great way to do that. Into the Channel merch, now available just in time for the holidays. Heads up to literally everyone in my friend and family group. Go there, grab some stuff designed by your boys. You already know what time it is. Links to all of the above and much, much more in the description of this episode. A big thank you to my co-host as well, Mr. Grant Engle, for, celebration of life. Nobody I'd rather be celebrating life with. Well, maybe some members of my family, but you're right up there, right in that second tier of people I want to celebrate life with. I appreciate you, bro.
Dude, if I'm making it to the knockout phase, that's absolutely fantastic. That's pretty much all I'm looking for. And, and to Dino's point, the merch, it's unbelievably comfortable. I mean, I'm basically swimming in a sea of soft down feathers wearing this beautiful ITC hooded sweatshirt. So if you guys are into that kind of thing, please check it out on the merch store. Thank you all for rocking with us, and we will see you all for part 2.